This has got some AC stuff and it's got some electrical stuff. There's something for everybody here. And, I'm kind of having a bad hair day, so you'll have to figure out how my hair looks. You got to be smart enough to figure things out. And when everything finally comes together, I don't know if you've ever run into this during the time you've been in here. Whenever you're fighting with something and you finally figure out what it is, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, oh, I understand now. Have you ever tried to open your toolbox drawer and it wouldn't come open? And then you saw where somebody put something there so it flipped up and it caught, you know, and say, oh, wow, you know, it's holding this, you know, and then when you get it open, no wonder. Now, the customer's problem becomes our problem when they hire us to fix it. Okay? In other words, they're paying you, they're taking money. The way that you get paid is you do something that somebody can't do for themselves or they're not willing to do. You figure out stuff they can't figure out, you fix stuff they can't fix, and you make it all better. That's really what we're trying to do here. They notice a symptom, and hopefully they notice a pattern. Now, a symptom and a pattern. What's the significance of a symptom and a pattern? The symptom is my car skips. The pattern is it skips whenever I'm going up a hill at 45 miles an hour, crowding the throttle. See, so your pattern is whenever I turn left, I hear a popping noise. In other words, the symptom is I hear a popping noise. The pattern is what happens when I'm turning. So if you're the person that they allow to talk to the customer, you need to be somebody that asks, like if you wind up being a service advisor or something, you need to ask the right questions. Because the more information you can put down on the work order, the better the mechanic's going to be able to do his job. Right? And the better you're going to be able to do your job if you know how to ask the right questions. One of the questions I like to ask is, did you start doing this all at once, or was it something that got worse over time? You know, they describe the symptom and the pattern, and we attempt to verify it. We got to verify it because we got to make sure that it does what they said. Because if it's not doing what they said it was going to do, then we're going to have to make it do it. And some of your scan tools, like the Chrysler DRB3, has got what is called a similar conditions window. If you plug the scan tool in, it's set to code. The similar conditions window tells you they were going this speed at this temperature down, you know, with so on and so forth. Engine speed and all that in this gear. We put our knowledge to skill to work. We pinpoint the cause and we get it fixed. But without knowledge and skill, we're just people that change parts. And how many people know somebody that just changes parts? How many people are somebody that just changes parts? Here's a Buick Park Avenue. This is one that we mixed in here. This is a true story. And it's going to turn you over which way but loose by the time we're through here. The AC was inoperative and the low coolant message was constantly displayed on the message center. You know, right in front of you where it's got the green words. Okay, these can turn on the light if the coolant concentration is not right or if it's low. If the coolant concentration is not right or if it's low, like an example, if somebody just poured clear water in it, that sensor, that coolant sensor on some of these GM cars will turn the coolant light on if it doesn't have the right amount of antifreeze in it. That's the point. So just because it says low coolant and you're up here, you need to check your coolant concentration with a refractometer or something and see if it's like it ought to be. Okay? Neither one of these is okay. The coolant concentration was right and it wasn't low. So we might have been looking at a coolant level sensor issue because those sensors do go bad. Sometimes you can pull a sensor off, it's got a little pin in there. It's just got the coolant flowing around. You can clean that out and sometimes that helps, but usually you got to put one on there. We gave the car a good once over right at the end of the work week. She wheeled it in there for this stuff. You know, a lot of times you might have seen them when they come in here and they say, hey, can you rebuild my engine before I go to lunch? You know, this kind of thing, and they want it done really, really fast, and we see this. So availability, the coolant level sensor, we found out we could get one. And then we went after the AC. Now, it was full of atmosphere, so we pressured it up with 150 psi of dry nitrogen gas with our bottle and our gauges. And we did a soap bubble hunt for leaks, but we really didn't see anything. A lot of times that's the case. Now, we'll tell you this, an AC leak can be so small that it makes a little 1/8 of an inch bubble and pops about every 35 or 40 seconds, and it'll lose the refrigerant charge in 2 days. Think about that. I mean, a tiny little leak, no smaller than that, will get it to the point where it won't cool within a couple of days. We've actually seen that here, you know, and it just drives you up the wall thinking about trying to find one, you know, that's months, you know, losing its use. There is a way to do that. We pulled a vacuum on the AC system and held 30 inches of vacuum. 30 inches of vacuum is all you've got, okay? There's no way you can pull 35 inches of vacuum because 30 inches of vacuum is where the scale stops. Everybody remember that. 30 inches of vacuum is all you got. When you've got no air at all, you got 30 inches of vacuum. All right, so she needed the car for the weekend. We were almost out of town, so we put some dye in it. That's how you find the slow leakers. You put the dye in there. Put her refrigerant charge, felt it blowing cold, everything was great. Let her take it with instructions to bring it back the next week for a follow-up. We're good, right? So when she brings it back, maybe it's leaked enough the refrigerant out where we can see some dye with our black light, we'll be able to tell where it was leaking. All right, now, respond. Oh, we went back up. Went 2. All right, when it returned, and this is an important slide, the low coolant light was not there anymore. But the trunket jar message was on. And the AC's refrigerant had mostly gone away. Wasn't much refrigerant in it anymore. We replaced the coolant level sensor and took care of the low coolant message, but the trunket jar warning light remained. Because the low coolant light, you know, how could we really tell? All right. Use black light. Now that right there is just you can see that with the plain old light. But the black light made this light up like it's radioactive. And so a real common leak point on your AC system is where this compressor is put together. And my axiom about parts that fail is that the part that's in the most hostile environment, is working the hardest, is usually the one that's going to fail. Now, it's not always the one that's going to fail, but it usually is. So the hardest working part, you know, is going to be the weak link in the chain usually. Although they're supposed to be designed, you know, like on the Chevrolets that have the bad gas gauge problem. The little fingers are always sliding across that little strata in there and they wear out. And it gets to the point where they're not making contact anymore and then the gauge is waggling around. You don't know what kind of gas you got in there. Okay, so we replaced the compressor. We did another nitrogen test. Replaced the compressor, the orifice tube. We talked about that last week when we talked about ACs. It was clean. There was nothing in the orifice tube indicating there was trash in the system. We put an accumulator on it. Accumulator doesn't cost that much. It's kind of like a filter. You know this thing here. That's the accumulator, right? All right. Where was the cold air? We still had no cold air. Now, remember now, back up and push. Friday, or it's good Thursday, not Friday, we did all of this work and we got it cooling. Everything was fine. It dries out, it comes back. Now it's got problems it didn't have when it left. But nobody's been working on it. She's just been driving. Compressor wasn't engaged. Turn on the air, look down there, you ought to see that compressor kick in. Sometimes there'll be a little bit of a timeout, but it kicked in. All right, but it wasn't kicking in. And while we were investigating that, one of my guys noticed the temperature gauge was easing up toward hot. Because he was sitting in a car. And the cooling fans weren't working. Now, when it left on Thursday, the cooling fans were working. We had a low coolant light, but no trunket jar light. And the AC would work whenever we had it charged up with juice. Now we've lost some of that. So, well, the loss of compressor operation, the dead cooling fan, and the trunket jar message had all come about over the weekend, but none of them had existed on the previous service. Drive up the wall. Thought you had it figured out. All right. Now more about the Buick in a minute. This was a very good shop, and I know the shop and I know the guy, and I got a lot of respect for the guy that owns the shop. I don't know how this drifted off, you know, because I mean I believe in the work the guy does. But this guy right here, there was a guy that owns a tire store that called me because the guy was in his shop, and he said he got a misfire and he'd had it to 2 other shops, and one of them had put an ignition switch on it and the other one had put a fuel injector on it. And he spent $400 or $500, whatever it was. And I was told, could y'all look at this? So I said, yeah, we'll look at it right over here. All we had to do to fix it was put plugs in it. Had the original plugs. Now, I don't know why all that other stuff was done. You know, Identifix gives a bunch of different, but I mean, how they drifted off course and didn't check the plugs first, I don't know. I mean, I can't speak to that. It's real easy though. I told you a story about that the other day, right? All right. These were the original spark plugs. And when we popped a new set of plugs in it, that guy's been going ever since. All right, now, the Santa Fe AC problem. It needed an evaporator temperature sensor to get the AC cooling again. But the story was it had been to a dealership somewhere, Hyundai dealership, for AC not working, and they had put a compressor and a bunch of other stuff on it. And they'd had been there 2 or 3 times it had been in there for whatever reason. I didn't look at the itemized list, but the man and his wife told me, they says, we spent $3,000 at the dealership and the AC still doesn't cool. And so we basically went and found out how you do the little button dance on the cluster, on the control head, and it gave us a code telling us the evaporator temperature sensor was bad. I said, well, that thing's only $28, and we do the labor here at the school for not much at all. And so I had Moody jank the dash out of it and go in there and replace that evaporator temperature sensor. That's the code we got. We put the evaporator temperature sensor, put it all back together. This is kind of funny too. Puts it all back together, air conditioner blowing cold, and the guy comes over here and he says, this is just amazing, this just blows me away. He said, this thing's never cooled this good, not even when it's new. And he says, can I give this guy a tip? I said, that's between you and him. I said, I don't take tips, because I get paid for you, but he's learning, so, And so that guy pulled his wallet out, and he gave that guy every $20 bill he had in his wallet.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. That was $160.
Where he at?
Yeah. It was a tip. They were so daggum happy the air conditioner was working that they restored that vehicle, repainted it, and they were decided to keep it. They were about to trade it in. But all it needed was this. But the thing about it is, this right here is an 8-hour job for a professional mechanic. There was nothing easy about it, okay? Let me how they pull that dash out there. But I will tell you this, it seems like a long, aggravating, hard job, but you know how long it takes them at the assembly plant to put that dash in there? About a minute and a half. They got a robot that comes in there and sets that dash in place, and then it goes on down the line. The guy reaches somewhere, goes click, 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 plugs everything in, tightens a couple of bolts, it's on down the line. So 4 or 5 minutes, they got that dash in there. Whenever somebody that hadn't done it before pulls it out of the shop, it takes them half a day, Now there is a guy at the Ford place over there that can pull the dash out of a Crown Vic and put it back in about 30 minutes, and it pays really good flavor. But anyway, we're back to this thing. We replaced the compressor for a leak and we recharged it. It was working to start with, but now it doesn't engage electrically. Coolant fan's inoperative. Dangerous in the extreme, right? You put it down there without the coolant fan, we're gonna burn it up, especially if we're sitting in traffic a lot. Trunk and jar lap, could these three problems be related? Now typically what we do when we're doing electrical stuff, and we've got a bunch of stuff that's not working, what we'll always do is we'll actually look and say, what do all these have in common? Ground, power, connectors, modules, what? Anyway, I didn't feel like a smack in the face. Here we felt like we gotta start over and, back up and push. And you absolutely cannot let the customer have it back without the fans working. Even if you warn them it's gonna try to overheat in traffic and they burn it up, you let it go, whenever it was like. So we had to roll our sleeves up and get back to work. So I put a couple of guys to work on the trunk jar message while we started to gather data on the AC no engagement and the unresponsive coolant fans. But all they found was a normally operating trunk jar switch along with good voltages and circuits, so we closed the trunk and put this on the back burner. Now I didn't like that, but for the time being we're more concerned about the overheating engine and the AC. We put a compressor on it, that's not cheap, right? It wasn't that she didn't need the compressor, it's that we put it on there and the AC still didn't work. You can't let it out here like that. Alright, so I had to call them and say we can't release it. We were afraid she might damage the engine sitting in traffic. Now here we got the coolant fans. Right hand coolant fan motor, left hand coolant fan motor. And this is the schematic. Now we're going to take a little bit closer look at this because you guys that are in electrical are going to have to wire this up. Got it? You looking forward to that? You'll get to wire it up. You'll have to wire it up, and I had one guy that could do it in 3 minutes, practically blindfolded without any schematic or nothing. He just played with that thing so much he just couldn't get enough of it. All right. Find the relay using all that. Coolant fan relay number 2, coolant fan relay number 1. And this is the one they call the serial parallel relay, except I think that's misspelled. All right. So we got when we get into the schematic, we basically are looking at that relay, and that relay. And there's a legend down here on the schematic that tells you. All right. We're going to test the fans first, but before we test the fans, we're going to look at how this power makes it to the fans. Like on this one over here, you turn it on, you initially turn the fans on, they're running at half speed, you turn them on high, push that other button, they run on high speed. Now watch this. Now I want you to look at this. You see this switch right here. I want you to pay particular attention. I'm going to back up, and you're going to look at this switch right here. All right, let me back up. Look at those switches. All right, see the one in the relay? and the one. Now, when the low fan control is going to energize that relay, this is going to click over, and then I painted red where the power goes and green where the ground is. See that? Now, this closes, the coil closes, the relay starts delivering power through that motor. It goes all the way up here, it goes over here, down here, through that motor to ground. So it has to go through both motors in this particular position before it ever makes it to ground. So you got 6 volts here and 6 volts here. Why? You're dropping 6 volts here, you're dropping the other 6 volts here. The voltage drops in the circuit are always the sum of the voltages going in. All right. Now then, what do you think is going to happen when we put it on high? All right, here's your high speed fan relay control. We turn that one on, and that turns this one on. Now what happens? You got power coming through here. And look at that. Now that's directing that directly to ground. So this is running on 12 volts. This one here will close at the same time. It's going through here, and that one's going straight to ground. So we got to run it on high. So how are we going to check the fans? You know, I was telling you guys that you can hook a test light in series with a fan, turn it through really slow. If the light ever goes out, you got a bad fan. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take this fan relay and we're going to pull it out of there. All right, you ready to pull the fan relay out? We're going to pull the fan relay out. All right, the coolant fan relay has been removed. And then we're going to take from our battery, and this is actually, this blue line represents your test light. So you hook your test light from positive to that one. Now, with these relays at rest, you don't even have to have the car on or nothing. If you turn that fan and this light ever goes out that you got in here, then that's a bad fan. If it doesn't go out, and you turn that fan, and it goes out, you can check both fans from that one terminal on coolant fan relay number 1. Got it? Now turn the fans and watch the light. That's all you got to do. I used to have these cars that would come in when I was at the Ford dealership. And I'm the one that, I never saw anybody teach this. I just started doing it and it works. But they would say, my coolant fan doesn't run sometime and my air conditioner pop off, goes, you know, sprays refrigerant out under the hood and all that. And I would let it kick off and on in my service bay for an hour. Everything would be fine. And then I would turn it out to them, and before they got to the stoplight, I did it again. And so I said, you know, I got to reasoning this out. So I said, I'm going to check that fan. It's like playing roulette. You know, if it ever stops in the wrong spot where it's dark, it ain't coming on. You got me? So that's how you check a fan. And it's not too hard to do that. And I can show you how to do it on a car. It's not a big deal. All right, with the two-way talking scan tool, we told the PCM to turn the fans on, and it did. So we told the PCM with our scan tool to turn on the fans. Oh, fans came on. All right, with ECT disconnected, it also would activate the fans. That's a default. Disconnect the ECT sensor on some cars, not all of them. It'll run the fan. Toyotas will do it. This one will do it. Now what we now knew was that everything was in place. Drivers, circuits, good relays, good fans. So the PCM had the ability to operate the fans, but for some reason it was choosing not to, even when it was supposed to. It was even reading the ECT correctly. Could we fool it into turning the fans on by making it think the engine was hot? We possibly did that. This right here is a potentiometer. You ever seen one of these? You can buy them in the electronics store. They don't cost very much. It's a 50,000 ohm potentiometer. And basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the ECT loose, and I'm going to hook this two legs of this potentiometer to that ECT wire. You got to do it in such a way where you're not going to damage the terminals in the connector. You don't ram something tapered up in there and spread them out where they won't ever touch again. All right, so then you turn that while you're watching your scan tool, and you can make it believe the engine is any coolant temperature you want it to. And that's, now I will tell you that on that Oldsmobile out there, you got to have the engine running to do this. On some vehicles, you can do it without the engine running, and it'll kick the fan on. But the Oldsmobile will not turn on the fan if the engine's not running. And this Buick will do the same way. So that works pretty good. So we started the engine and watched the scan tool. We dialed in 267 degrees Fahrenheit with that potentiometer. Now the engine wasn't that hot, we just made it believe it was that hot. The PCM still wouldn't activate the fans, even though it was saying engine destroying temperatures on the PID. The PCM can turn it on when we tell it to with the scan tool, but it won't turn it on when it's supposed to. Does this sound complicated, like something you wouldn't even want to be bothered with? Hello? Anybody listening?
Yes.
Yeah,
I was not going to be bothered with that.
yeah. Well, I'll give you 4 of them next week. All right. Now, peeking into the data stream, AC request no. See, you can look into the body controller and you can look into the PCM and relate to the AC. AC request no. Commanded AC off. What? What's this? Scan tool showed the control head was sending a request and the PCM was receiving it, but that's where the request stopped. The PCM would not message the PCM to turn on the AC. And that's what the PCM was telling us via the data stream, and the PCM data stream verified the lack of request. Actually, that's the PCM there. See? All right. There's not even a voltage deal you can measure or interpret with this code. It's a class 2 message. It's basically a network command. So you can't measure this with anything. I mean, you can't put a scope on it. You got to have a scan tool to do it. So it's a transfer between modules. Kind of hard to track. All right. So I says, why don't we just reflash the PCM? I mean, you know, what the heck? I had the stuff to do that with. So I reflashed the PCM. Downloaded it from the server, the latest calibration, flashed it into the PCM, didn't touch it. Nothing changed. Identifix was our next stop. And post on this problem reflected issues with the BCM, PCM wiring, etc. I didn't notice any silver bullets. Sometimes on Identifix you'll get a silver bullet. It'll tell you right where to go, right what to do, and you'll say, oh man, that would have took me forever to find that. I'm glad I went here. Identifix is a great resource. All right. So, I checked with the GM dealer to find out a replacement BCM, because I was thinking, well, maybe runs $400. Ouch. We're just going to try that, and they ain't going to take it back? Well, I called the salvage yard where I do business, and, oh, hello, Debbie Rammer.
Hi, how are you?
Are you here all day?
Yeah, it's fine.
How long have you been here?
I've been here since 9.
Oh, yeah? Well, how come you didn't call?
I know, I said,
Are
well,
you still popping and stuff?
yeah,
Okay.
it's not, it wasn't as bad this morning, but it's not as bad in cooler weather. It seems worse when it's hot.
Oh, really? Okay. All right, let's see what we can do with this afternoon.
All right.
You leaving me your keys?
Huh?
You leaving me your keys?
Yeah, I'll go get it.
Okay.
I just came to talk to you first to see if you could or what.
Yeah, let's see what we can do.
Okay.
All right. Okay. You can tell she's from Ireland. But she drives all the way over here to get her Ford Fusion work done. You know, nobody else between here and Ireland can fix it. That's a joke. All right, so I swung by and picked it up. The next day I put it on, doesn't it change? She says, okay, well, that didn't work. I'm glad I didn't buy one of those $400 ones, right? This story's not over with. Keep listening. The fans of the AC were both dead and the same scan tool data prevailed. Uh-oh, look at this. Standard body module, which is actually the body control module, that's SBM on GM. Heater and AC control programmer. You know these two boxes right here look almost exactly alike, and they're side by side. I mean, they're mounted up in behind the glove box right next to one another. Look at this. The BCM has kink connectors. That's cute, isn't it? And there's the programmer. And they're mounted right next to one another. And how are you supposed to tell which one's which? If you're a guy at a salvage yard, you may unplug and sell me the wrong one. If I'm the goofball looking under there that's not really familiar with these cars, I may take the wrong one you sold me, plug it in, think my problem's not fixed. I put one of these on there, but what I needed was one of these. Got it? So when I figured that out, finally, I had to do some, jumping through some hoops. I got by myself and I did it when nobody was around, and that's how I finally honed in on this. Or homed in on it, that's the right way to say that. Okay? So the two boxes were mounted right next to one another. I plugged the BCM, everything came online. The AC started working. The cooling fan started working right. The trunk of jar light went away. All at one time. And basically the trunk of jar warning light was replaced by a change oil soon message. You got it? Of course that needed to be changed. All right. After the oil change was done, the bill was paid. She got her wheels back, everything working real smooth. And then 2 weeks later, she was back with harsh transmission shifts. Bam, bam, bam. If you wanted a brakes check for pulsation, we fixed the brakes, but it would stall sometimes during the parking lot. It was, the bill was on the MAF code we hadn't seen previously on this car. Hadn't seen this before. But what we did was, mass airflow reading a little bit lower than normal. We put a $200 mass airflow sensor for the park store. The transmission cleaned up its act and there was no more stalling. So she had to have a mass airflow sensor for harsh transmission shift. These cars here will do harsh transmission shifts if the mass airflow sensor is acting up. And basically, you know, we were looking at that part of the scan too. Buick had it in for us, but we won. This thing left out here, okay. But somebody must have had this problem intermittently, no AC, no coolant fan operation, because they replaced his fan relay. Because see, it's a different relay than all the rest of them. And they traded the car in and let somebody else deal with it. And the owner of it had only bought it a couple of weeks earlier. The dealer that sold it probably didn't even know the problem was there. Okay, you ever been worked over by one? You ever been worked over by one? Right? Everybody's got one down there. They can be electrical, mechanical. The bolt you were trying to take out of the exhaust, it wouldn't hardly come off. One of the things you did right on that was you just keep spinning with the impact wrench so it was rounded off where nobody could turn it. That was smart, you know. We had a 15 millimeter head bolt that had rusted down to somewhere between a 15 millimeter and 9/16.
You talking about on the exhaust?
Yeah, we drove.
Yeah, I tried to find it for
we
that.
drove it. We drove a 9/16 up on it, and we got it most of the way on there. And then we got the air hammer and put on the extension and rammed it the rest of the way on that bolt where there's no way it's coming off of there. And we soaked it for 4 days with PB Blaster while we were off, and that thing squeaked its way right on out of there, didn't it? All right. When you finally prevail, anybody, and you've had this before, when you're fighting and fighting and fighting one, and you finally win, what do you feel like?
$1 million.
You sure do. You feel like you're Superman. And I mean, I don't know how many times I've been there, you know, where I stay awake, get all beat up by one, and then when I finally figure out what it is. I worked my fanny off on a Thunderbird Turbo Coupe one time that was just beating me up something awful because it would lose power and all that. It turned out it had a bad knock sensor. I had never seen that before. But I mean, I worried with that doggone thing for a week. Anyway, finally figured it out. And you finally prevail, you give up, feel like $1 million. So feel like $1 million. That's the end of the show.